Hopefully? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk about fairy gardens. How many already have a fairy garden? Okay. And how many are thinking about a fairy garden? Well, I'm Kathy. I'm with Fort Bend Master Gardeners, and I do talks on a lot of different things, but this is one of my most favorite things to talk about, just because it's fun, and it's also a way to express your creativity. You can be as creative as you want to with a fairy garden. There are no rules, and the gardening itself is pretty much like regular gardening. It's just smaller. So you use smaller things. For instance, for grass, you might use the little mondo grass. Works well. This is not going to stay. A lot of sedum grows well and covers the ground well. There's and a lot of succulents work well because
that in that basket there, is that sheep moss?
That's moss, sheep moss, which is real. It actually they preserve it, but it's still real. It's a real moss, and I use it outside and inside. It's great for inside because it's hard to have enough light when you're doing a fairy garden on the inside to keep the plants growing. And of course you can put artificial plants in it, but you can still use real plants. The moss is good. Succulents, most of them can do pretty well without a lot of sun. It's nice to have a little light. I have this one. This one has been outside. I kind of redid it a couple days ago because I wanted to bring it here. Touched it up a little, and things get faded when they're out in the sun, and especially if they're out in the sun all summer with the Texas heat and the sun. I tend to in the fall I gather up all my little fairies and put them in a basket, and then during the winter I touch them up with paint. And I've found that you can use any kind of paint, but I've really found that nail polish is one of the best things to use because it doesn't fade, and it's enduring. And there are several things that I have painted, especially if you need a bright red or something like that. It works well, and it survives the weather. One of the things I wanted to talk about is this is my newest garden, and it's a gnome garden. I got the gnomes at Goodwill. I was in there one day, and they had a whole collection of these cute little guys, like this guy and these two guys, and there's another one somewhere. I bought 3 of them. When I got them home and I was cleaning them up, I noticed that they're numbered and they're signed. So I bought 3 of them for less than $10. And when I looked them up online, they sell from, I think the least expensive was $75 up to about $120.
Wow, good for you.
I went back the next day and they were all gone. I would have bought some more. Anyway, they're very cute. And the interesting thing about this particular garden is it's in the front, but it cannot be seen from the street. It's that part of your house that's just kind of nothing between the landscaping and the house. I put that's where this is. You can see my house, and it's just the front porch comes up, and this is all behind the landscaping. And so it's just a fun thing when they actually get to the door, they can see it, but they can't see it from the street. So it keeps the HOA happy. It's also, I kind of like to hide the fairy gardens. I put them in unexpected places. Like I have a little gourd that's a house, a little fairy house that's a gourd, and I've got that in my vegetable garden. And it's down, you have to really look to see it, but it's on just a stepping stone, but it's down in there, and I've got some little artificial vegetables and things around it, and it looks real cute. I think it's fun to have that kind of thing in your garden, something that is unexpected when people are looking and they come across it. Out in back I have a castle, way out in the back by the fence, and I made it out of a detergent bottle, a plastic detergent bottle, and 2 for the columns, I use two, what they call for creamers, like this is actually a creamer bottle right here. See that tall? You can see the shape. Plastic works really well. And I make a lot of my things for fairy gardens just because they're so extremely expensive when you buy them in the store, and you throw this stuff out all the time. And so if you just kind of have a way of looking at things and seeing something else, which I've always been able to do, you can make your own and save a lot of money.
What did you put on that to make it?
A lot of times I get the, I'm going to lay this down because it's going to blow anyway. A lot of times I get the silicone in the tube, and I just coat the whole thing and roll it in stone, like, and here I've got one. Yeah. Okay. See the small rock? And this is a lid, and those are pistachio nuts. And again, I've used just that silicone. You can get it in clear. Whoa! What was that? Well, there goes the master gardener. Here, I'll just lay it down. It's probably not gonna stay. The wind is really wicked. And this is a jar of some kind. And then I made the door out of a piece of balsa wood and jewelry. You can use old jewelry. You can use anything. The pistachio nuts hold up forever. I've got those on, that's old. That's bark. A lot of that is bark. Just bark off of a tree. I have a tree that sheds, it's not a crepe myrtle, but it's one of those that sheds all the time. And it has an interesting bark. And here's another, this is a Spam can. So you can, and popsicle sticks, and bark, and sheet moss. And this one's been outside for a few years and it's faded. And that's the kind of thing I do in the winter, is refurbish them. But this one didn't happen to get refurbished. You can use for a door. That's just a little thin piece of balsa wood, but you can be very elaborate with the door. I know on the castle I made the door with the knockers and everything, and you can do anything you want to do. I made a beautiful fairy bed one time out of twigs, and this, I have a vine, and I used this, and it came out so pretty. And then I made little tiny.
Kathy, I made a Texas, real Texas fairy garden. Because of all the stuff I worked for.
Yes.
Guess how much?
How much?
50.
50? Wow. That's interesting.
People don't realize, how much it costs, everything.
Oh yeah. When you buy the things that go in it.
I did it in 2 flower pots, so it was tiered.
That's really neat. I have one that I can't bring it anymore. It's too big. But I started broken pottery as another nice thing to work with, and it's 3 different broken pots, and they kind of all fit together. And I did an American Indian scene, and it's sand, and I've got the cactus, because I've had it for, this is the 4th year for it, so the cactus are really growing, and the little Indian guys are really nice looking. They're German made, and I got those at a garage sale, but they're so beautiful. They have wonderful detail. And then I use sand. I just buy a box of sand at Hobby Lobby, and it makes it really, really pretty. And it's just, it's a way to display your cactus. I often use something like this to create a stream, and I'll poke, the forks down the little, where are they? Well, anyway, the little things that hold it in place. And you can shape it, and then when you fill it, you want to go ahead and let it spill out. But that's what this is. So you don't want it to just go to the edge. You want to put, and I use aquarium gravel for something like that. This is a toy. It's just a dinosaur toy. It's got a hole cut in his back, and then there's a hole right down here for drainage. And you could put any kind of succulents in there, and that sedum works real well because it grows out, and he looks like he's carrying a big load. Something like this would make a nice tower. It's plastic. Plastic lasts forever. It's and the sheet moss you can buy just about anywhere. Even Walmart carries it, and it's so nice to work with because you can layer it. And I use the little pins. I have some here somewhere. The little, they look kind of like a hairpin, and they hold things down. I use a lot of aquarium gravel because that's another nice thing. On this one I used some cut glass for the water because I thought it was real sparkly and pretty. You can use anything you want. But you'll see, if you look in there, you'll see, oh gosh, come back here. You'll see the little hairpin holes where they're stuck in there to keep things in place. Oh, here's another, something like this. You know, before I throw anything out or recycle it, see, cute house. And then you can even, if you want to get real creative, you can even put a hole in it and put lights in it. And it'll last. The plastic will outlive. What I'm going to do is...
Using the shells, you eat the nuts.
Yes, right. Only the shells. Yeah, you got it.
The right way around.
Waste not, want not.
Okay.
Yeah, they're halves. But they worked real well for shingles. You can also buy little shingles. They have them at the dollhouse department and Hobby Lobby and everything. But there's so many things you can use other than that. I've used thatch and just grass thatch even to make let's see. Okay. I have a big one in the backyard, way too big to transport. This is only about half of it. It's a raised bed. I put in, it's 2 of those building blocks high. It's about this high. Yeah, about that high off the ground. And filled it with real nice soil and put some plantings in there. I have an olive tree, or I had an olive tree. It didn't.
Yeah, we all had olive trees.
It didn't do real well. It's coming back, but it's not the same. Anyway, it's coming back from the roots, so it's going to be more like an olive bush, I think. Anyway, this one is the biggest one I have, and I've got the river. I made a little waterfall here by using hot glue and gluing onto a piece of plastic and then gluing the rocks onto it and then going down into the water. This is a little lemon cypress tree, which is really cute, and a friend bought me that for Christmas, and I want to get another one to go on this side of the house. This is one house I did buy, or somebody gifted it to me, but it's purchased. And that one costs about $50. Oh, yeah, or $50 or $60, I don't know. And then there's a little wedding going on over here. There's a bride and groom, and there's little bunnies holding her train, and it's just got all kinds of really cute things in it. And that's one that I've been adding to for years, and I built it about 3 years ago, and I keep adding on to it. So, any questions so far? Well, I told you how, some of the things I use. I'm actually going to put one together for you to kind of see how I would do it. This would be an inside, it could go outside. There's the big difference between inside and outside is inside you want it to drain into a saucer, and outside, you can just let it go. I put a screen in the bottom of this bowl so that the dirt stays in there. And, gosh, this wind blow the whole thing away. What happened? Okay, it's over there. All right. Here we go. I measured this all out so I could do it fairly quickly. first thing I'm going to put in is just filler, because these plants probably will never get down this far. So I'm going to put some filler in here and use this for the base. And then I need some support, and I put this together for the fairy house. Well, in this case, it's a fairy garden. Let me see. I want to go up here. I want to go about here. So this is just the base to hold it, because you don't want it to sink down into the soil, and you don't want to waste a lot of soil. If you buy good soil is expensive, and the mixture I'm using right now is a really good one that I bought. Plus I've added a little bit of compost to it, and some worm castings to make it nice and rich. Succulents, you don't really need that rich of soil. They don't care. They'll grow in rocks and sand and anything. But I'm going to use some indoor plants, some ivy and fern, and I want them to have a nice, I don't want them to die of malnutrition. It's
Funny.
it's oh boy. Yeah. Put it there. It's the two things that kill the plants the most is too much water and not enough food. And of course you can overfeed them too, but most people tend to just put them in and neglect to feed them. And they grow a lot better if they have food. I keep a calendar, and I keep okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this little house in here, like that. And then I'm going to put, I always, when I plant things in a container, and I do a lot of container gardens too, and this is essentially a container garden. It's a container fairy garden. I always soak them overnight in water, and sometimes I add a little liquid fertilizer to the water just to give them a nice, because they're going to go through a little shock when we take them out of here. Okay, now just to make sure that I have a space, I'm going to stick this in here just to hold the place for it. And then this one, I'm going to put this one toward the back, about here, I guess. So I'll put, and see, they come out of the pot so easy when you soak them like that overnight. You don't have to tear them up to get them out of the pot. So I'll put this in here. Now I'm going to add the soil, and I like to cover the soil. What doesn't have a plant, I'll use moss or gravel or rocks or something, just to, well, it helps to keep the soil from drying out, for one thing, but it also protects it. And let me get this in here. The reason I'm doing it like this, it's once you get the plant in there, you have to tear it up to get the dirt in the right place. So I'm putting the dirt in first. It's not dirt, it's soil. Dirt is what you track in the house when you've been in the garden. Soil is what you plant the flowers in. Okay. Get this down in here. I have a lot of little tools. You need smaller tools for a fairy garden. This makes a good rake. A little shovel. And then these chopsticks are great for poking.
12:30 winner is Monica Keeling. Monica Keeling, are you here?
And then another thing is, it's always handy to have a little brush to get.
Monica Keeling.
Another thing that works real well when you're working with succulents like that, because if you get dirt down in there, get a straw and you can blow it out and not you know, hurt the plant trying to get the dirt out of it.
Enter if you want to be in the next drawing, and you do have to be present to
Okay, so we need a little bit more over here. I'm gonna pull up. Because otherwise, if I don't fill this up, it'll shift. And then my plants will be down too low.
Bring it all the way.
Now, got the soil in, and I'm going to plant these guys. I'll take this out. It's got a nice little spot for it, so I don't have to tear. Wait, I want to put some fertilizer in there. Here it is. Down in the bottom, some long-term. This is Osmocote. Any kind of a long-term fertilizer, good. Pardon? Osmocote. That's what this is. So, see how it grounds it gives it a sense of stability. And we'll let this ivy grow around front some. It'll spread, and it'll probably fill in over here too if it gets enough light. And hopefully, these are both shade tolerant house type plants. And I'll just put the rest of this in here and work it in a little bit with the shovel. So when they get over here, they'll still have something to eat. Now, okay, oh yes, and it needs a fairy. So how does she look?
You gotta pull it in a little, or did you want it hanging off the pot?
I want it hanging, yeah.
No, don't you plant?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, back a little. Yeah. Around here, and just to, yeah, and to stabilize it and to ground it again to make it seem more real. You know, need deep roots, because most of these gardens, now my big one out in front, or out in back, in the fairy garden, the big one, it's got plenty of room. So I can plant some pretty, I've got a magnolia bush in there, I've got all kinds of things in there.
I can't believe that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but for the ones that are like this, they only have about this much soil in them, you know, and it's not only in the middle, which is where the camper is. But you just, you want to just kind of think about what you want to create, what you want to.
See, I'm always being asked to do the Texas themed ones.
The Texas theme.
Yeah, but think about it. You have to buy the glasses, the shot glasses. I put Tabasco in it. I put an armadillo. I put all this stuff. Like I've got NASA in there too. I have to buy all this stuff.
Yeah, you do.
You know, everything that they have.
You have to become a junk collector.
I do a lot of resale shopping.
Do you?
Oh yeah, that's where I found those little gnomes, and like I said, they if I bought those online, I wouldn't have bought them. And then when I found out how much they
Are
cost,
they German or Swiss?
I'm not sure. His name is Clark, so I think he's American designer.
I used to have their pricing.
This, yeah. I don't know what. I hope my stuff is not blowing away. The wind is crazy.
I'm going to get rid of this, then I can help you.
I looked him up. His name is, I think it's Dan Clark, and of course they're signed and they're numbered, and he has a lot of. He does mostly gnomes, but he does some American characters too. Like I think he's got Thomas Jefferson, and his carvings are beautiful. They're really neat. Of course, these weren't hand carved, but they are numbered, so they're cool. But I find a lot of really neat things at Goodwill and Salvation Army, and it's just fun to go and see what you find. It's amazing sometimes. Does anyone have any more questions about fairy gardens? Yes.
Paint is good on rubber. Just to spray a paint.
I used, just
Canisters.
spray canister. I use a lot of spray paint.
That's a cute container.
It was perfect for the camper. It just worked out real well. And then it ended up sitting on top of, I had to cut down a palm tree, so I had this big base, because they cut it off about to here, and I put that tire on there, so it came out, it ended up really cute. This is a broken pottery thing. You can take a pottery, any old piece of pottery that's broken, and then all the little chips and stuff you can use as stair steps and all kinds of. So you can do fun things with that too. So even though you can spend a lot of money on fairy garden things, you can also do things buy just a little piece like this and then add to it.
I've just had a tree chopped down, so I think I'll do one on top of that.
That would be nice.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.